Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. You already know the deal. Look, we got the hat, we got the Daddy's Home shirt. It's time to dive back into the boys. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We're getting ready to dive in spoiler free into the boys, season 2, episode 2, proper preparation and planning. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how I got to episode 2 yesterday. So I'm at work, and my Twitter buddy and Smod Squad friend, Stephen Griss, replies to my tweet of the episode 1 review. And he goes, "It only gets better." And I'm like, "Dude, come on, don't get me hyped. I'm like stuck at work. I got the Cowboys later. I'm not going to be able to watch this till like mad late at night." And as you know, Friday, I opted not to watch late night because I was tired and I want to be awake for these things. My man got me so hyped. He goes to me that he couldn't help but tell me that. He was up till 4 a.m. the night before doing his own catch up. I was like, oh man, and he this was the line that sold me. He's like, "I'm fully on board the hype train and the brakes are shot." I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna do the. By the time I get home, I gotta watch 3 episodes. I'll be up to like 3A. But he got me hyped in the afternoon, and then by the time the Cowboys game came and went, I don't talk a lot of sports on here, but I'm a big diehard Cowboys fan, and that loss last night just really fired me up in all sorts of ways, and I was jacked when I got home. So I was like, yes, we're diving into episode 2 right now. And Steven actually almost predicted the future because he almost predicted that I would say that this asshole almost made me stay up all night. I'm not going to lie to you, Steven. After episode 2, I hit the hay. I was starting to doze, and you know me, I want to be fully present when I'm watching these episodes. So I didn't go all night. However, the rest of what you thought I might say still applies. Just let me tell you, you were right on the money, dude. Just after episode 2, gone were the woes of tomorrow because I truly lived in the moment today. So God bless Stephen Griss. God bless America. And God bless Canada and all you wonderful Canadians. So shout out to Steven who got me fired up and made sure that I did watch at least 1 episode last night when I came home. And I dug episode 2 again. Slower start than season 1. We're building more story here in this episode 2. And in all honesty, this episode, very minimal action. We do get a little bit. Most of this episode had me laughing and seriously invested in the storylines that are starting to be built. Wanna see what I was doing? Well, if you don't want spoilers, make sure you jump over in the chapter markers down below to the beginning of the non-spoiler review. But for now, I'm gonna show you all the laughs from last night.
Yeah, because you laughed at me. Bullshit.
Oh,
That's
what
not
a
true.
trip.
You can't accept your own body, so you violate theirs.
They're spinning.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Hey, hey, hey. I'm from us forever. Just shut the fuck up, you ugly piece of shit. I have nothing else to say to you. We won't let you shut up.
Let's talk about getting some pockets. Like your teammate A-Train has been out.
No.
So weird.
I'm not. Everything I hope for, everything I need. You are so beautiful to me.
So absurd.
Oh, and if someone sticks a dick in your mouth, bite it off. Pippi Longstocking would bite a D. That's for damn sure.
I love Ayakash. And like the couple moments that kind of caught me off guard or surprised me. Oh! Well, that wasn't good. Is that Patton Oswalt? What? Oh, hey, he's got gills. Oh! What?
No, you gotta look it up.
Is Patton Oswalt voicing his gills?
Remember Melissa Dabrowski, the kindergarten teacher.
It's so weird. Oh, shit! Yeah, Frenchie, I'm with you. And like I said, there wasn't a ton of like shock moments, but the moment with Kimiko, that's right at the end of all those clips. Good God, I wasn't ready for it. Like I was unprepared for that one thing. And that's a perfect segue into the beginning of the non-spoiler review, touching on Kimiko. Once again, episode 2 is kind of setting the table for all of our characters and where this story is starting to push. We kind of reestablished everything in episode 1, and now episode 2, we're legitimately building out what looks to be where we're headed for this season. And when it comes to the boys, episode 2 is a big episode for Kimiko. We know that Kimiko has been silent. She can't speak. And has had a lot of trouble communicating with the team. Frenchie and her have a connection where Frenchie can kind of assume some of the things that she thinks, or might be trying to say, but sometimes he's really wrong. So this episode, you get to see her starting to work toward establishing some kind of communication with the boys, as far as trying to teach herself, like how to write and what different words are in English. It's really cute. She's like playing on like a kindergarten or first grade like piece of paper, writing out like different letters or whatnot. And that kind of plays in because something pops up within the story where she needs to try to communicate something about her, and about the situation that's going on with them this episode. And you as the viewer, you're as confused as Frenchie is because she can only get 2 words down on paper: boy, girl. I know, non-spoiler review, but I promise that's not giving away anything major. But you can't figure out what that means. And what's nice about episode 2 is we actually finally get to see A, Kimiko really communicate with somebody, and B, we finally get some backstory on her. And I am massively intrigued by her character. I was already intrigued by her character from jump, just because, she's so fascinating. The fact that she can't communicate and the fact that she is badass, is great. And I absolutely love Karen Fukuhara, who plays her. She just brings the character to life in a way that I think is very interesting. So getting to see more of her background and understand a little bit more of her story when we haven't been able to understand really anything about it, I love that stuff. And the way that plays into the storyline and the main beats for the boys in episode 2, have massive reverberations, which kind of almost drive a wedge in between certain parts of the boys. There becomes like a hard line in the sand almost, where it's like you're either on this side or this side. And that kind of plays into the other aspect that we really focus on here in episode 2 with this group. While we get a lot of stuff with Kimiko, and like I said, that shocking, mind-blowing type moment where I was like, oh, damn, we really focus on Butcher here. The episode kind of picks up, at the end of episode 1, Daddy was finally home. And episode 2 kind of starts with telling us what happened to him, and where he ended up at the end of season 1. So I love establishing that, and it, establishes all of his driving forces and motivations for what's going on in this episode. And we see him trying to figure out a way to help himself get back to his wife, because he has no clue where she is. He saw her at the end of season 1 and then kind of just turns up. And we see at the beginning of this episode, like I said, where he turns up and kind of how things played out. And from what I can gather, there's only one reason that Homelander didn't kill him at the end of season 1 or at the beginning of season 2. And they don't really get into it, but they do hint at it at one point in the episode where you're like, oh, seems like Homelander may have come to some kind of agreement, and that might be why Butcher is alive. So that aspect in and of itself is interesting. But, he's trying to set himself up to, okay, there's this super terrorist out there. Maybe I can use that to my advantage to help me get back to my wife. And it involves the CIA and goes to Grace, who of course was, Susan Rayner's boss. And they have a really nice kind of back and forth. I love getting to watch Carl Urban just act. And they give him some really nice moments in this episode where he can kind of show off those skills and those acting chops that he has, specifically playing Billy Butcher. I just love him as this character. But he keeps everything close to the vest most of this episode, and that kind of gets to that point where the line is drawn. He has things that he has to do. And when he realizes that might be a wedge, amongst the boys, he kind of has to let everybody kind of in on what's really going on, the fact that his wife is still alive. And that's a really, fun moment to watch kind of unfold on screen, because you see all this tension and then this kind of shift of like, damn, if that's true, if everything you just told us is true, we have to figure out something, but we can't necessarily go with the plan that you have. And that kind of leads into a real nice action set piece toward the end of the episode for Kimiko that ultimately kind of sets up where they're headed going into episode 2 and what's going on with them trying to catch this super terrorist. Now on the other side of this episode, with our soups, we get some really, really great stuff, and a lot of the laughter, if you watched my reactions, stems from the supers. First off and foremost, I said it in the reaction, I absolutely love Aya Cash. She is crushing season 2 as Stormfront, and we're only getting small tastes of her, right? Like this episode, we finally get to see a little bit of her power set. Ashley Barrett, who is played by Colby Minifie, we saw her. She's kind of replacing Stillwell. She's got this whole concept of like the Seven has never had 3 women, so let's push the women and like market that. And what's fun is you get to watch the show kind of dive into this aspect and spectacle of celebrity. There's kind of like an event that we see Stormfront, Starlight, and Queen Maeve show up to, and it's flashing cameras, and it kind of plays into all the things that society has kind of idealized about women, and what almost to the fact where like they're props through this whole bit. And what's fun is while Starlight kind of goes along with whatever it is that they're doing, Queen Maeve diverts away from the activity that they're supposed to be doing, and I like that too. With Queen Maeve this episode, we get some nice background on her. We get to learn a little bit of about a past relationship that she had, and really kind of makes that character a lot more interesting, where I was like, oh man, like we've only gotten small doses of Queen Maeve, and here we're really getting to see Maeve herself. And I like it, man. Like I look forward to seeing, what Dominique McElligott does with the character, getting to see the little bit that we see with her. But the rest of that kind of event ends up just being, Stormfront and Starlight. And while Starlight kind of is just playing along to get through, like this is kind of like work, we get to see the other side of the fact that like you want to push this like representation idea and like pushing the women to the forefront, and like they're going through like questions where they're being teed up to just say things like women are more powerful or all this stuff, and Stormfront calls everybody on their BS, which is why I love her character so much. She really kind of, again, lets us peek a little bit into the background. And like I said, we got to see a little bit of her ability show up when she's on that red carpet. But we kind of get an inside look into what her motivations are. And she's like, look, you don't have to be I hate that nice equals good. She's like, you can be a bitch and still be a good guy. And just the idea of like pushing all of these things rather than letting us go out there and do our jobs is a massive issue for her. So I love the way the show can kind of explore and dive into real life topics that are going on in our world from the viewpoints of, whether it's the supers or the boys, just this interesting prism that we get to look through. And the way it plays, it just lets Aya Cash shine, man. Like, she pops every single time she has been on screen this season. She has stolen every single scene she's in. I love her personality. I love her fire. She's so feisty. And I'm dying. We've seen bits of it in the trailers. Cannot wait to see her really show off like what she can do. But from the personality standpoint, wonderful. She made me laugh probably almost the most this episode. But the real laughs, the long-winded laughs that you saw, stemmed from the Deep. And what's going on with him is just amazing. Mild spoiler, this episode, he's still with the Archer guy. I can't remember what his name is. And the woman that kind of showed up to try to help him last episode. And we're diving more into what the story is going to be for the Deep this season. And this episode kind of involves a little bit of a mushroom trip. And it's not like trippy psychedelic stuff. It is, I can't believe what I'm seeing things. And it involves Patton Oswalt in a way where I was like, did Patton Oswalt just show up in this episode? Is he him in the Deep and what goes on between the two of them in this episode? It's hysterical, and also really deep. It really gets to some core roots about the Deep and why he is the way he is. And the fact that a lot of what we've seen from him so far is kind of a front. And we're getting to peek behind that curtain, and it's nothing like you could ever imagine or expect, and it's absolutely hysterical. And I can't wait to see where we go with the Deep as the season continues. And then, also we kind of mentioned Starlight and how she, was kind of going along with the red carpet event thing, because she's kind of in a tough spot. Like, her and Homelander, a lot of tension there. Like, Homelander very easily could have wiped her out last season. And we see the return, spoiler, of A-Train. And there is really interesting dynamics going on with the two of them, and a really fun chess game to watch play out, because A-Train knows things about Starlight from the end of last season, and the fact that she, has been with Huey. And then Starlight, she reveals that she knows some things that we wouldn't know that she would know, but the fact that she does know them allows her to be able to kind of match wits, and it's almost one of these Mexican standoffs. It's like, we both have our guns loaded, we can both shoot, but that's not going to end well for anybody. And A-Train was a real major stop almost in what was building with Huey and Starlight in episode 1 and what they're trying to accomplish. And you get to kind of see some of the fallout of some of the stuff that happened with Starlight and her friend from Capes for Christ. There's a little bit more of that that kind of plays into a couple fun sequences where you're like, oh man. And again, it's this fun chess game. You get two sequences or scenes with A-Train and Starlight, and both of them is just like these two people who were not necessarily thinking are uber smart or would be chess players, but are playing real life chess, and watching them move their pieces and constantly block each other to where you're kind of at this standoff. A lot of fun to watch. And then, of course, there's, we don't get to see Black Noir at all in this episode. I'm assuming he's probably healing from the results of what happened at the beginning of episode 1. We haven't seen him since the beginning of episode 1. But our boy, Homelander, he's got some interesting things going on. This episode, establishes the fact that Homelander clearly has some sort of a desire to be a father. Now, whether that's genuine, or whether he wants to be able to turn his son into a weapon maybe that he can use. The first two episodes has been all about a power struggle with Homelander. You got Homelander and Giancarlo Esposito's character we met in episode 1, Stan, and they've got an interesting kind of power struggle going on. Obviously, I mentioned Colby Minifie's character, Ashley Barrett. Her and Homelander kind of have this power struggle going on, and now you have the same kind of thing going on with Homelander and Butcher's wife. And you don't really know what his motivations are, but it seems like he's trying to, at least on the surface, act like he cares about this kid. I think it's probably because he wants him. He's very hard set on trying to make this kid understand that he is Homelander's kid, that he has powers, and that he needs to find them so he can utilize them. And it's like the fact that he keeps harping on the kid's powers, these moments where he tries to kind of be fatherly, you're like, is this because you just want this kid to be like another you so that you can really start to dominate, maybe leave the Seven and who knows? Homelander way more, evil and diabolical than he puts on, outside of moments where we get, and when, like the moments that we see, the scene he had with Ashley last week, like scary. And that's why I think his motivations are probably more for his benefit and on the evil side of things. But you do kind of see him trying to establish the fact that, like, I'm this kid's father. And that stuff is interesting because it's drastically different from what we've seen from Homelander before, with all those qualities of his kind of lying right underneath the surface, waiting to, like, let us in on, like, oh, this is why you're so interested in this kid. Like I said, I really dug episode 2. A lot more story and a lot more laughs than action or shocking moments. But the little bit of action we get at the end of the episode with Kimiko, like I said, is really fun. And like, I'm just like, I dig what was going on in that storyline. And the humor in this episode was just spot on. I mean, the stuff with the Deep is absolutely ridiculous. And I could watch Aya Cash just light up the screen all day. I love that she is a scene stealer, and like I said, I can't wait to see her fully power up, because then she might be a show stealer. And I actually, speaking of Aya Cash, I just got a tweet update that actually mentioned that she has a movie or maybe it's a series coming to Shudder, which I was like, ooh, more things to watch with Aya Cash in it. That's awesome. So there you go, man. Those are all the Seaman's non-spoiler, semi-spoiler thoughts and reactions to The Boys Season 2, Episode 2, proper preparation and planning. I tell you, Steven, Gris, I wish I would have had more juice to get through more episodes and seen episodes 3 and 4. But we will definitely be getting to those. But until then, I want to know what you're thinking. 2 episodes into Season 2. How you feeling? Like I said, this episode was part of the 3 that released on the first Friday. So, did you binge all 3? When you got to episode 2, were you wanting more? Like I said, it's a little bit of a slower start, but I think the things they're building are really interesting, and the things that make you go, whoa, and the things that make you laugh really just add all this personality to the show that I like watching build. Was that stuff working for you in episode 2, or did you want more like head exploding things like we know The Boys can give us? So where did you land? Where what do you think what's going on with the Soups? They're all in very different places and a lot of different things going on. And same with The Boys. There's been an interesting shift over there, and it's kind of balancing back and forth and teetering on, like, the other thing, like, Huey really just doesn't give a shit about Butcher because Butcher abandoned him. And that's another thing they get into this episode a little bit. So I'm interested to see where that goes. So the balancing act going on over there, stuff going on with the Soups. What are you thinking about The Boys Season 2, Episode 2, and the season so far? All of that down below in the comments. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man, join the C-Maniacs as we watch The Boys Season 2. Jump over there, man. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace! Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down Squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.